All right, here we go. Thanks for tuning in again, folks. I'm back with another quick video about a heat pad or heat plate, or what do they call this one? Whoa, that's a mouthful. A heating iPad station LCD mobile touchscreen open remover separator kit. That's what this is. I received this a few days ago. Actually 2 days ago, but I didn't have time to review it. And I promised you I would follow up with a review. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to skip the intro, why I'm doing this, what it's for. It's all in the previous video. And this has been used. Scratches, fingerprints, either that or they just couldn't be bothered to yeah, you're gonna tell me this is new. Look at all the crap underneath this. Alright, so looks like it's been used. We're gonna test it out anyway, see if it's any better than the last one I reviewed. This is a hell of a lot more basic than the last one I reviewed. This is really pissing me off. This looks like crap. What the hell is that? Oh well. I fully expect it not to work, because this looks like a return done by someone else. Pad is uneven. So we'll see. But on Amazon they call this the TBK-568. What I already like better on this one, I don't know which camera to use to show you. I'll use the overhead. This has the regulatory markings. Now this is from China, as you can see by all the stamps and prints, so these may actually be completely bogus, but at least they're there. It has an on-off switch, a hard switch, not a touch one, and it has a grounded plug. The other one was just a two-prong. This one has a ground, and you can switch it from 110 volts to, can you switch it? Hold on. Yeah, the switch is a little mangled. This is definitely a return. But you can switch it between 110 and 220, which is nice as well if you happen to be in Australia or in Europe or wherever. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one as I did with the last. I'm just going to turn it on, set a temperature, and see how well it actually holds that temperature. And I'm keeping a fire extinguisher handy, so I do not trust this thing at all. Alright, we're gonna put it on the kilowatts so we can see how much it uses. And before I whip out the thermal camera, I'm just going to turn it on and see what happens. Okay. Alright, can you see the readout? Yeah. Okay, so the display is in Celsius only, which I prefer, but other people might not agree. It heats up evenly. Oh, the heating element is inside this pad. Okay. Let's see. Set. It's set to 80 right now. We're gonna put this, what I did the last one? I did 65, I believe. So I'm gonna put this on 65 as well. See if it heats up evenly. And what happens when it reaches that temperature, according to the sensor. The sensor is under there. I'll show you after I turn it off. And since I'm going to be overlaying the thermal camera on that side of the screen, I'll move this over here a little bit. It definitely doesn't smell as bad as the other one. It smells a little. Not as bad. And it heats up a lot slower. which is not necessarily a bad thing, but something to keep in mind. You can't really see the display anymore. Hold on. Let's see if I can improve that. There you go. We're at 42 degrees. Let me speed this up a little while we wait. This thing, by the way, while it's heating up, is using 115 watts maximum. So this is already half than what the other one used, which I'm quite happy with. And the maximum temperature of this heating pad is 80 degrees Celsius, which should be all you need for phones or tablets. Alright, we're coming up on 53. No unusual smells. Feels like there's a cold spot here, but I'll try to confirm that with the thermal camera. But it does seem to heat up pretty evenly. A little bit hotter here on the left side of the pad. But again, the thermal camera will be more accurate than my hand. Got a few degrees to go. Alright, it's at 63 degrees Celsius and it turned itself off. That is smart. The other one did not do that. It knows it's getting close to the target temperature and it starts slowing down the heating process. Beautiful, 65. And there's an audible click when it turns off. That's kind of reassuring. It seems to hold its temperature a lot longer too. $64 should kick in again soon. There we go. $62, so we lose a few degrees. I guess it should probably kick in a little sooner than it does if you want to keep a steady temperature. All right. Time to stop guessing. I'm gonna grab the thermal camera. Just turned off again at 63, 64. Just from what I can tell about the behavior of this thing, it seems to be a lot more precise, or it tries to be more precise when it comes to getting to the target temperature. But I'm going to hook up the thermal camera and we're going to see if I'm just talking a whole bunch of nonsense or if this thing is actually doing a better job. Alright, we're back with the thermal. There's going to be this very annoying click again of the thermal camera calibrating itself. but nothing I could do about that. The picture might also be upside down. I'll see if I can correct that in Final Cut afterwards. But this software is very picky about rotation and all that stuff. So we're currently at 65 target temperature. The pad reads 70. So that's a 5-degree difference. And it's currently off. Drawing 0.6 watts. Basically enough to light up the LCD. So we're gonna wait for this to kick on again. There we go. Alright, and we're back to target temperature of 65. From what I can tell, this thing does a much better job at gradually heating up. It turns itself off, let the wiring do the work, let the pad do the work, and just help it out once in a while by turning it on again. So if you recall, actually I didn't record that. That was in my first test that I did before the recording. The other pad, I set it to 65. It heated up at, I think the first test was 140 something degrees Celsius. That's a huge difference. And while it was heating up, whatever was on the LCD, the thermal camera showed twice the temperature most of the time. So this is doing a much better job. And yes, it gets hotter while it's heating up than what the LCD is showing us, which is normal, but not by a factor of 2. So this is much better. And I'm gonna see if this is a return, see if I can maybe clean this up if they were just sloppy at packing. The voltage switch in the back being a little messed up concerns me too, so I might return this and get another one. But I will definitely be using this as my heating pad, because I like what I'm seeing so far. Now there are no instructions included in the box, which also makes me think this is a return. But even though it has Chinese markings on it, the buttons are in English. You got your Celsius over there, enter, set, down and up. That's it. So I'm pretty sure this thing is easy to figure out. You know, it messes me up when I look at the thermal camera. The part where I said, oh, it's colder here than it is over here. I'm completely wrong. Because this is the hottest area, according to the thermal camera. It shows you how accurate and useless your hand is for this kind of stuff. It is a little bit hotter on the left than in the middle, like I felt before, as you can see here with the white. But the hottest part is, I think I saw it at 80, 81. And now that it's a few cycles in, it seems to be doing a much better job at keeping this temperature. But I've been talking and not looking at the image, so let me pay attention this time around. Yeah, so it seems to wobble a little bit, but I haven't seen it go above 84, 85 yet, which, like I said, is a temperature I'm completely comfortable with. So if I'm going to work on a phone, I'm going to be putting this on 60 degrees Celsius, which means it'll heat up to about 75, 80. If I'm not comfortable with that, I'll put this on 55, and it should stay well within a good range. And it seems to be consistent, whereas the other one was not. I did a few more tests after I made the video about the previous CPB heat pad, or they call it a heat plate, and temperatures were all over the place. I ran that thing with the thermal camera on it for about half an hour, and it fluctuated really bad every cycle. This one seems to be consistent. Alright, I've seen enough. I'm going to shut this down. See how long it takes to cool down. Now, what I also like about this, really like about this, it has feet, which, yeah, you can see right there. So the surface it's on, it gets warm, as you can see on the thermal, but we're talking skin temperature here. This is not hot at all. The other pad, let me see if I can still grab it here. This one, the CPB, this is just on your desk, which I'll pull up a fragment of the last video. I was using it with the silicone pad I use for soldering underneath the CPB, because I was worried that it might damage the anti-static mat. So I'm really happy that this has some strong, sturdy, thick, what is this, rubber? Some kind of stuff to keep it off the desk. Whatever heat radiates from the bottom, it can get out the sides, the front and the back. So I'm very happy with that. So I could just use this on my desk without having to worry about cooking what's underneath. And we're already under 60 degrees. So the temperature sensor is right there. Come on, focus. There you go. Right there. That's the temperature sensor. Oh, it is bulging a little bit here. I'm not sure if that's because someone moved this sideways or flipped it the wrong way. But it seems to be accurate. At least while when it reaches the target temperature, it is consistent with the thermal camera. It's off by a few degrees, but for $55, I don't expect that much. So, pretty happy with this. I'm going to test it a few more times. I already received a new iPad digitizer in the mail. So I'm going to experiment on this with the iPad 4th generation. See how it does, but yeah. 55. Looking good. Cools down pretty quick. So, you got, let me put this on camera here. You got your front display. Nothing to it. Set the temperature. Once you have it set, hit enter. Down and up. That's it. As straightforward as it comes. This is the back right here. You got a fused light. A fuse typically sits in there, so you got a fused grounded connection, on-off switch, and you got your voltage regulation back there, which this should stick out, I think, but I'll mess with that later. I might actually open this up just to take a look inside. Not that I necessarily know what I'll be looking at, but maybe, you know, curious. So compare the TBK-568 to the CPB, what was it? I forgot. The CP300, hands down, I would go with this one. Any day. Just based on the quick test that I just did. So for what it's worth, it doesn't look great, doesn't have any fancy touch controls or big LCD with fancy icons showing you what's going on, but as far as heat pads go, this does what it needs to do. It heats up the pad, lets you set a temperature. It seems to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It seems to do a much better job with heating up. Whoever made this knows that if you just keep these, what is it, probably copper strands in here. If you keep this element charged the entire time, it's going to heat up too fast. So when it's a few degrees away from the target temperature, it shuts off. Just let the wiring do the work. It's still radiating heat, warming up, and then just help it out until it gets to the temperature, which is something the CPB absolutely doesn't do. It just keeps it on, gets to target temperature, which you may have seen in the other video. It gets to 65, 6, 7, 8, 70, 71, 72. It just keeps going instead of slowing down when it gets close to the target temperature. So I really like that. Yeah, that's really all you can say about a piece of, what is this, metal? I don't even. No, this is plastic. It's not even metal. A piece of plastic, piece of rubber, and a power cord. That's really all you can say about that. So I hope this was useful. I'll put a link or a better description about this thing in the description of this video, so you can look it up, see if it's for you, see if it's available in your country or in your area. But so far, this looks pretty good. Now this pad has a few blemishes on it, a few, I don't know, looks like bubbles. So I will be seeing about a replacement, because everything just screams return on this. Someone returned this for whatever reason, and they just sent it to me. So I'm gonna see if I can get an actual new product. But yes, this will be my heat pad of choice. I might test other ones in the future, but at this point I don't really have a reason to try any other ones. This is doing what I needed to do. Maybe if I start working on iPad Pros down the road, who knows, I might need a bigger one, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Before I close off this video, I wanted to go over a few things that I forgot to mention, or that I went over too quickly. As you can tell, I suck at doing review videos, but a few things I wanted to touch on. The first thing that I also forgot to mention in the previous video is how evenly it heats up. As you could see from the thermal imaging on the CPB, it was not even. There was a cold spot in the middle, a hot spot down here. It just wasn't even. This one, much better. It shows up as hotter here, which I just figured out is because the silicone here, the pad is lifted up a little bit here, so it retains more heat. Everywhere else it touches the plate underneath, so that heat gets transferred to that pad faster. So if this were to touch the pad, I'm pretty sure this would not be a hot spot. And it wasn't much of a hot spot, but hot enough for the thermal camera to keep defaulting to this area as the hot spot. So when it comes to even heating, this one is definitely better. Another thing, the CPB heats a lot faster, but it doesn't really seem to care about temperature accuracy. As you saw in the last video, this just switches it on until it thinks it's at temperature, then it turns off, and it'll just keep heating and heating and heating, overshooting the target temperature by 5 and sometimes 10 degrees or more. So as you saw, this one, when it's a few degrees away from target temperature, it turns off and it starts slowly building up from there. Which brings me to the next point. While it heats up, just like your if you're cooking electric, same thing. While it heats up, it will always overshoot the target temperature as it gets up to temperature. That's normal. What you want is what you saw in this one. You want it to, well, you don't want it to overshoot the target, but if it does, you want it to be minimal. This one, double the temperature or more while it's heating up. This one, much better. So that's 2 points for the TBK. Something I touched on just a few seconds ago when you're watching this, the bottom, let me see if this will stand up. Yeah. This one has feet. I should stop saying this one and just say TBK. The TBK has feet, so the heat can kind of dissipate from underneath. The CPB has nothing. This is on your desk, gets incredibly hot. The temperature you get at the top is the temperature you get at the bottom. That's why I was using this with a silicone pad underneath, which didn't help all that much. My desk still got incredibly hot. Not the case with the TBK. Protections. Now, I'm not an electrical engineer, so I might just be talking smack, but this does not have a grounded connection, which tells me typically if something goes wrong, that's bad news. This one has a grounded plug and a fuse. Now this might have a fuse built in, but I can't open this up without ripping it off the pad, and I'm returning this. So there you go, for what it's worth. Also, a hard switch, much harder to break than a touch button. And of course you got the regulation markings, which may be bogus. It is from China after all, but this makes me feel a whole lot better about having this in operation in my office. What else? The price. I don't have it up on my screen right now. This one is $55. This one was over $60, somewhere between $60 and $70. Granted, you get a nicer pad where you can, manage your screws. You can put your screwdrivers in there. Fancy LCD with more features, but at the end of the day, you want reliability. So I'd still prefer the TBK over the CPB. Features is another thing. The CPB has a timer. The TBK does not. And if I pause every time I point to this thing, it's because I'm looking over at my screen to remember what this thing is called. TBK. Okay, I might remember now. You can set a timer on this. So if you were to trust this, you could lay it on there, set a temperature, set a timer, walk away. It'll switch off when the timer runs out. This one, and I still have to dig into the settings. I don't know if there's any settings that are not mentioned on these buttons. There's no manual included. There's no instructions on Amazon. And of course, they don't have a website that I could tell. So you kind of have to monitor this, set a timer on your watch or your phone, and then come back to it. Power consumption, I don't remember. I have to check my previous video. I'll overlay it on the screen. I think this got up to 250 watts. This one peaked out at 115. So much lower power consumption on this, which kind of makes sense. This one heats up incredibly quick. This one takes a minute. No, not an amount of time that makes you say, oh man, this thing is slow, it's garbage, I'm gonna return it. But this one is instant gratification. This one has you waiting a minute, which is fine by me. Let's see, anything else that I wanted to cover? No, I think that's it. At the end of the day, I'm mostly concerned about not damaging the electronics that I'm going to place on this, which has the TBK making me feel a whole lot better because it stays much closer to the target temperature. This one can probably fry an LCD or explode a battery if the one you buy happens to be even more messed up than this one is. So at the end of the day, I feel a lot more comfortable using the TBK than I would the CPB, even though this is nicer, you know, with the LCD and all that stuff I mentioned. But I want to make sure that I don't burn my house down and I don't destroy the electronics that I'm going to put on this. So for me, the clear choice is the TBK. So I just wanted to touch on those few things. If I forgot to mention anything, or if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And this will be gone probably tomorrow, the day after this video is released, so I won't be able to do any more testing on the CPB, but I can do whatever test you want on the, damn it, forgot again, the TBK. I'm just gonna put that on here in a marker. So if you have any questions, any tests you want me to run, let me know and I'll get it done for you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.